Before the televised January 6th committee hearings, the Sunday before, Adam Schiff goes on ABC and says there is, quote, credible evidence that Donald Trump broke the law when it came to the election of 2020. Broke the law. Credible evidence. Well, one of the committee members, Trump hater Jamie Raskin, was specifically asked whether or not he believes the DOJ will charge Donald Trump by Dana Bash of CNN. Here's what happened. Watch this.
I guess the question is, knowing what you know and knowing what the American people will see in these hearings, do you believe that the Justice Department should indict the former president?
You know, one of the conventions that was crushed during the Trump administration was respect by politicians.
Pretty straightforward question. Do you believe the DOJ is going to indict this man?
For the independence of the law enforcement function. And so I'm going to try to observe that. Attorney General Garland is my constituent. And
Adam Schiff says there's credible evidence Trump broke the law. You're on the committee. Do you believe the DOJ is going to charge this man?
I don't browbeat my constituents. I think that he knows, his staff knows, the U.S. attorneys know what's at stake here. They know the importance of it.
Notice he's not answering. I'll tell you why he's not answering. I'll say it again. A first-year law student knows they've got nothing. Yeah, Donald Trump was PO'd. Yeah, Donald Trump ignored his advisors. That's how Donald Trump is. Donald Trump believes that the election was stolen. He sincerely believed that. I know he lost all the lawsuits. But he was angry. Absolutely angry. And he felt, understandably, he was dogged for 2.5 years by that bogus Russia collusion deal, that the Hunter Biden story was suppressed, that he got 90% negative coverage from ABC, NBC, CBS. But for all of that and COVID, he knows he would have been reelected. He was angry. The question is, did he orchestrate an insurrection? Do you believe the DOJ, Mr. Raskin, committee member, Democrat, will go after Donald Trump and charge him?
But I think they are rightfully paying close attention to precedent in history as well as the fact.
Blah, 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 blah. It's pretty straightforward. Adam Schiff says there's credible evidence Trump broke the law. Put up or shut up.
Of this case. So we've laid out in different legal pleadings the criminal statutes that we think have been violated. And Judge Carter in California said he thought it was likely that President Trump committed federal offenses.
I want to ask you.
I will bet my house that the DOJ is not going to indict Donald Trump. Now, of course, I live in California, so you may not want it. The White House press spokesperson was asked the same thing. Do you believe the January 6th committee outlined enough evidence that the DOJ is going to charge Donald Trump? Here's what happened.
On the January 6th hearings, based on the evidence that lawmakers have presented so far, does the president believe that Attorney General Merrick Garland should prosecute former President Donald Trump?
Pretty straightforward. Based on the evidence that the January committee laid out in prime time on ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, MSNBC, Hee-Haw, and Fox Business, do you believe the DOJ is going to charge President Trump?
Look, the president has said this before in voicing his support for the vital work of the bipartisan January 6th Select Committee. And as Kevin McCarthy said just days after the attack, we cannot sweep this under the rug. We agree all Americans should watch and remember the horror.
Blah, 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 blah. Adam Schiff says there's credible evidence. Either there is or there isn't.
Of one of the darkest days in our history, but this is up to the Department of Justice. This is the Department of Justice and the president.
So Joe Biden doesn't have any opinion. The guy who said he got into the race because the guy you referred to, Trump, and that Charlottesville press conference said there were good people and bad people on both sides, and that's when I knew I had to get in. He weighs in on that, but you don't have an opinion, Joe Biden, on whether or not the the January 6th committee has laid out enough evidence for your AG, who, by the way, put out a memo saying that comparing parents to domestic terrorists, that wasn't a problem. But you're telling me Biden's got no opinion?
has been very clear. Department of Justice is independent. The president chose Attorney General Garland because of his loyalty to the law and our Constitution, and to restore the independence and integrity of the Justice Department. And that's exactly what the Attorney General is doing. So we leave it up to the Department of Justice.
Let me tell you why they're not saying anything. As I said before, they know damn well they can't indict this man. And if they did, even a D.C. jury would cut him loose. Yeah, he was angry. Yeah, he believed that the election was stolen, to use his word. Yeah, he believed that there were shenanigans going on. And there were. And the court cases he lost all 60 of them. Some of them were quite close. As I mentioned before, in Pennsylvania, where they blew through the filing deadlines using COVID as a reason to accept the mail-in ballots. Alan Dershowitz, not exactly a conservative, twice voted for Obama. He said that what they did was illegal, and he felt that Donald Trump would win his lawsuit. The Supreme Court would take it up. And Jonathan Turley, as I said before, from George Washington University, also a two-time voter for Joe Biden, said the same thing. And in Michigan, the Michigan Supreme Court did not take up the case, but the Michigan Appellate Court did and ruled 2-1 against Trump on procedural grounds. But one of the members of the Court of Appeals of Michigan filed a dissent and said the Secretary of State illegally sent in mail-in ballot applications to every single registered voter against the law. And in Wisconsin, Trump lost that again, 4-3, went all the way up to the Wisconsin Supreme Court. The Chief Justice of the Wisconsin Supreme Court filed a dissent. And she said all these drop boxes that they set up, they were illegal. Lost that case 4-3. So it's not like Donald Trump was just completely grasping at straws when he filed all these lawsuits. So hell yeah, he was angry. Now, Bennie Thompson is the chair of the January 6th committee. And he said yesterday there was going to be no criminal referrals. None. And guess who disagreed with him? Liz Cheney, the Republican on the committee. Thompson tweeted, "That's not our job. Our job is to look at January 6th, what caused it, and make recommendations. And after that, we don't have authority." You have the authority to make recommendations. You have the authority to say committed a crime. Cheney tweeted, "The January 6th Select Committee has not issued a conclusion regarding potential criminal referrals. We will announce a decision on that at an appropriate time," close quote. In other words, Cheney believes we can recommend criminal referrals. Nothing's stopping us. That's not our job. Bull. The reason for these hearings, twofold. First of all, what are they going to talk about in the midterms? Inflation? Consumer price index now double digits? Gasoline prices well over 100% since Biden has taken over? Year to year up 40%? The borders are a disaster. The pullout of Afghanistan, the stock market now is in bear market territory, dropped 20%. We'll get into that a little bit later on. And if this quarter has negative GDP, we're now talking about recession. So let's talk about Donald Trump orchestrating an insurrection. Let's talk about how Donald Trump attacked our democracy. By the way, we have a republic, not a democracy, but whatever. The second reason, of course, is to make sure you know who does not become the 45th and the 47th president. Because as we talked about before, there's a provision in 14th Amendment that says you cannot hold office if you've been involved in a rebellion or an insurrection. That's what this is all about. But there will be no criminal referral. Again, I'm going to bet my house, although my house is in California, and given the property taxes and given the homeless problems we're having right here, you may not want it. Now, I watched Jimmy Kimmel last night. I just had it on. I didn't put it on purpose. I don't usually watch late night shows. I read that some 10 to 15% of young people get their nightly news from watching these monologues. And there's one Trump joke after another, after another, after another. He even slammed Rudy Giuliani. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that when we come back. Also, did you hear about Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul? Did you know he was involved in an accident? He was driving that killed his brother. This is back in 1957. This would not have come out had Paul Pelosi not been busted for DUI. All of that and more. And remember, you can always call 888-971-7243, 888-971-SAGE. And by 20 after, you're going to have to switch over to Epic Times to continue watching the live show. But don't go away. Now, another big problem with what happened on January 6th, there was sufficient intel, warnings that there might be something going on at the Capitol building. To that end, Donald Trump authorized the possible use of 10,000 National Guardsmen. And for whatever reason, the request was turned down by local authorities. There is a long article in Just the News. You ever read Just the News? Very impressive. Exclusive Capitol Police failures on January 6th foreshadowed earlier warnings, memos show. Newly minted Capitol Police Chief expressed concerns about the department's preparedness, training, aging equipment. The then Chief Stephen Son testified. There were all sorts of concerns. Ill-equipped force, suffering from a dysfunctional relationship with the governing board, outdated security equipment, needed to improve intel analysts, struggled to manage its human capital, bad morale, played a role in the 53 sweeping intel and security failures that contributed to the department's inability to contain the violent crowd. And you remember all this business about Republicans were giving people tours the day before January 6th, laying down the foundation, doing recon to set the table for this insurrection. One of those specifically accused was Representative Republican Barry Loudermilk. Here's what CBS News said back in May.
But we begin with breaking news out of Washington, where the House Select Committee investigating the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol wants to hear from Georgia Representative Barry Loudermilk.
Lawmakers say the Republican may have information about a tour through parts of the U.S. Capitol the day before the attack.
So Loudermilk gave people a tour through the Capitol the day before the attack. What was he doing? Why was he doing that? And did he, in fact, even do that?
CBS News congressional correspondent Scott McFarland joins us with more. And Scott, remind us here of Representative Loudermilk's ties to the attack on the Capitol.
Well, this is a significant escalation of the January 6th Select Committee's investigation. Another one of their own colleagues, this Republican Congressman Barry Loudermilk of the suburban Atlanta area, has been asked to appear voluntarily for an interview. According to this letter sent to Loudermilk by the committee and released publicly in a press release by the January 6th Select Committee, there's evidence the committee has that Loudermilk led a tour through parts of this Capitol complex.
Evidence that Loudermilk led a tour through parts of this Capitol complex.
January 5th, 2021. There have long been suspicions and rumors of tours on this complex the day before the Capitol attack, led by members of Congress at a time when the Capitol was fully closed to visitors due to COVID. This is the first confirmation from the committee. They believe they have evidence a tour was given.
All right. And the New York Times. January 6th, inquiry presses Republican lawmaker about Capitol tour. That was on May the 19th. The leaders of the House Committee investigating the January 6th attack asked a Republican congressman on Thursday to submit to questioning about a tour of the complex he gave one day before the riot, saying they were looking into whether or not riots had conducted reconnaissance of the building before the rampage. Back to Just the News. Yesterday, headline, January 6th panel gets caught spreading a whopper worthy of Russian collusion, Biden laptop. Now the January 6th panel has been called on the carpet for falsely suggesting a GOP lawmaker ran a reconnaissance mission inside the Capitol for January 6th protesters the day before the riot. Ironically, the man who blew the whistle on this alleged tour is a new Capitol Police Chief J. Thomas Manger, who got his job on House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's watch. Manger wrote a letter to Congress yesterday that an exhaustive review of security footage found no evidence that GOP Rep. Barry Loudermilk of Georgia did anything other than give constituents a tour of some congressional office buildings. In fact, the chief said the congressman didn't even enter the Capitol with the group. Quote, Manger wrote yesterday, quote, there is no evidence that Representative Loudermilk entered the U.S. Capitol with this group on January 5, 2021. We train our officers on being alert for people conducting surveillance or reconnaissance, and we do not consider any of the activities we observed as suspicious. End of quote. And a Republican named Rodney Davis, the Illinois GOP, pressed the Capitol Police to review the evidence and clear Loudermilk, and he said the Democrats need to be ashamed of themselves for spreading this lie about Representative Loudermilk. He also said this, former Doug Collins, GOP rep from Georgia. I'm wondering how many of these political writers, New York Times, Washington Post, all these folks are actually lining up to give retractions. Let's be honest. They buy any narrative they can use to impugn conservative congressmen, to malign Donald Trump, and to make this event they're trying to pin on a basically conservative person, Donald Trump, as an insurrection. In other words,
never mind.
Now let's turn to Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul. By the way, there was a rumor that the DUI charges have been dismissed. They have not been dismissed. And the California Highway Patrol put out a statement denying that the rumors were accurate, that the charges have been dismissed. But they also said, if we decide to dismiss the charges, he'll be treated just like any other white, privileged, rich, well-connected Democrat. Okay, maybe they didn't say that. Now, this probably would not have come out had Paul Pelosi not had the DUI. Did you know that Paul Pelosi's reckless driving killed his brother in 1957? He was 16. His brother was 19. He was driving a sports car, and the car crashed near San Mateo, February 22, 1957. And his brother, David Pelosi, was likely strangled by a neck brace he'd been wearing due to a previous neck fracture, according to the San Francisco Examiner report. Paul suffered a collarbone, called for help after breaking free from the car, and a highway patrolman said that Paul admitted that his older brother told him minutes before the crash to slow down. This is a bad stretch. Better slow down, David Pelosi told his brother Paul. Paul told authorities he tried to shift gears and slow down, but he lost control of his vehicle and killed his brother. Brother was pronounced dead when he arrived at a hospital in San Mateo. The brothers had been out on a joyride at the time after Paul had picked David up from a girlfriend's house, according to the report. Patrolman said he planned to cite Paul for misdemeanor manslaughter, but the case never made it to court, and then Paul was exonerated by a coroner's jury. Who knows whether or not there might have been some sort of political influence? I don't know. We come back. AOC says she's not sure whether or not she could support Joe Biden in 2024. And don't forget, switch over to Epic Times TV to continue watching the live show. I will be right back. People have been asking me, what have you been doing with your life since the election? Well, the truth is I've been enjoying life, riding my bike around town.
Oh, they're not wearing a mask.
I've taken up a little bit of fishing as well.
Elder kills innocent fish.
And I've been posting on social media. on. Listen, if you're tired of the censorship as I am, I've actually got some great news for you. Check out epictv.com. It's a brand new censorship-free video platform where you'll find not only my show, but other deep documentaries, great content, and honest movies that bring you the news without all the spin and the false narratives. So, check out epictv.com.